Hello there. I would like to present to you a posting that's going to be much longer than usual, but I think you will find it well worth your while to stay tuned to it. It explains so much about the social dynamic we live under and what it is ultimately I'm trying to get us to understand. And this includes a story that unfolded when I was working at the Peace Corps headquarters in Washington, D.C. So, let me explain. Upon graduating from the University of Illinois, I went on to undertake graduate study at Georgetown in Washington, D.C. And in order to finance, or at least help finance this, I took a part-time job, 20 hours a week, working at Peace Corps headquarters in Washington, D.C. in a rather modest building on 14th Street, which was interesting because it was sort of the center of the Kennedy idea that you were to ask not what your country can do for you, but what you could do for your country. And the headquarters was full of young members of this generation we termed the silents. That included me. These were pre-boomer. The boomers, however, coming up fast behind us, although they wouldn't hit the scene until much later in the 1960s. While I was there, a story started circulating around about a young Yale grad who joined the Peace Corps and went through training and learned vocational training, language training, and also moral cultural training, and was sent off to India to show Indians how to undertake the business of raising chickens, a business operation to help them come out of the lesser developed status that they had. He arrived, was very gentle because he was told not to push this, but draw them forward through your own example. And he did just that. He was very cautious in simply inviting them to join him as he undertook himself the idea of raising chickens, and it did catch on. And soon a number of the villagers began to help him build the chicken coops, and by the end of 2 years, things had progressed quite nicely. And he could return to the States to undertake grad study, well content that he had done a very successful job there in showing them how to move towards the American capitalist order, so to speak. After a year of grad studies, because India never really left his mind, he wrote them and told them he was coming back to visit them. He just wanted to see how things were developing. And they answered back, oh, they would love to see him. He was really a hero. And so he showed up, and the villagers all came out to greet their hero, and it was all a tremendous celebration. But when he had a chance to look around, he noticed the chicken coops were all empty. Finally, having enough nerve to ask, what happened? Their answer was, oh, Sahib, you have no idea what wonderful thing you did for us. We were able to put on a magnificent festival and have a huge chicken feast offered to all of the surrounding communities. And it has established our little village as the most prominent among all of the Indian villages in our area. It was at that point the young man and those listening to the story realized you can't just march in on a society and expect them to suddenly take up your worldview, which seems rational to you, because they live and work on their own well-founded worldview. It's their moral foundations on which their society is built. That lesson impressed me. But also what impressed me was how few Americans knew this. And this was the time of Lyndon Johnson going into Vietnam, thinking somehow that he could shoot and bomb his way, pushing Vietnam towards democracy through this Vietnam program, which was a total disaster. They really didn't understand the Vietnamese, nor did he care to try. He simply had a very idealistic view of his own as what needed to be done in Vietnam in order to make Vietnam a better place, more like America, not understanding there's little likelihood that the Vietnamese were going to simply buy what America had to offer because Americans thought it was so rational. It was at this point, my European experience and now my early DC experience, that I began to really take a huge interest in this idea of worldviews and their impact on society. I do a master's thesis, a PhD dissertation, and ultimately then another master's thesis later, all on the same subject. And it's pretty much what I taught about why societies think and behave the way they do. What are the moral, spiritual foundations behind it all? Anyway, that's what I have been teaching all these years, writing about, and now posting. And I hope you're interested in this subject. And if so, stay with me because we're going to explore this. Anyway, have a great day. God bless you.